Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps.
We're recording a podcast, the third episode. Can you believe it? We made it this far.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Of course we can, because there's nothing stopping us.
No.
We don't need an audience.
No.
We don't need anything.
In fact, we don't have an audience.
Yeah. As long as we want to keep making them, we will. So deal with that, people.
Welcome to the show. My name is Greg.
I'm Mike. Sorry.
This is You Haven't Seen, the podcast where we talk about movies we haven't seen.
Really? It's interesting we didn't call it We Haven't Seen. But yeah, I agree. That's the title of this show.
At least for now.
For now.
Well, I guess we can get into it. So today's episode is going to be all about a movie that neither Mike nor I has seen.
Well, I've seen a little bit of it.
I have also seen clips of it. It's pretty hard to avoid the cultural impact of this movie, I think.
Well, yeah, no, I've seen a good part of the movie and then stopped because I did not want to watch anymore.
Oh,
so
great.
That's my context for this.
Cool. So the movie in question is the 1980s classic Top Gun. I have never seen this movie. I know of it only by its homoerotic reputation. And I know that people seem to really like it. There's something about Maverick and Goose in it.
Some people want to be Maverick. Some people want to be Goose or don't want to be Goose. I don't know.
Yeah,
people are always saying who they are.
I don't really know either. I think it's just about like bros flying planes and then playing gay volleyball.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's pretty much the gist of it.
Maybe not in that order. Maybe the other way
those
around.
Those are the highlights.
Well, I'm very curious to see it. I think I avoided this movie for a while because it just seemed like a hyper masculine fantasy of, that like war is all fun and volleyball or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, we've established that I do like war movies.
That's true.
But this is just like a glorification of military, like bro type movie to me.
Yeah. It seems like
in my mind,
it's more of like a movie about like the homosocial aspects of military life or something, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's even really truly a war movie. I'm not sure it grapples with the horrors of war in any sort of meaningful way. Yeah. But I guess, maybe we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong about that.
I just don't think people get dirty enough for me in this one.
That's true. You do notoriously love films in which people are grimy, dirty, gritty, covered in filth.
All the time.
Yeah. You like war movies where people are, covered in mud from the trenches.
Yeah, like there's dead bodies everywhere. It's dramatic. People are crying. Like people are stopping wounds constantly. It's screams.
Yeah, this is the stuff you love.
What I don't like is Tom Cruise flying in a plane just screaming like hoorah or something. That's not for me.
I guess we'll see. Maybe this movie, halfway through, Tom Cruise crashes his plane and has to crawl through the mud across a bunch of dead bodies while people are screaming and bleeding out.
I would have loved if Tom Cruise crashed his plane in this movie because he does his own stunts,
but you didn't finish it. You don't know. Maybe that's what happens.
I'm hoping Tom Cruise didn't make it out of this movie.
I do think one of them dies.
Ace? Is there someone named Ace?
Probably.
Ace Pilot.
Sounds right. There's probably someone named Butch. Are there other nicknames?
What? Yeah.
Ace.
There's people besides Goose and Maverick, right? Isn't there a third one?
Maybe. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I just feel like it's just Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer, right? That's all I know about this movie.
Val Kilmer's in this?
Yeah, I love Val Kilmer.
I'm just kidding. You do?
Yeah, he's fantastic. Feels so bad for the guy, too.
There's a documentary about Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
I didn't, but I want to. I really want to watch it. Supposedly his son narrates it because he can't speak anymore.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. I do love Val Kilmer, especially in
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
I was gonna say Tombstone that you need to watch, but
oh, I thought that was like a Clint Eastwood movie,
no,
like a John Wayne or something.
No, it's Val Kilmer and what's his face? Wow, I'm trying to blank on his name right now.
Paul Newman.
No, Dirty Dancing, bro.
Patrick Swayze.
This is another Sandra Bullock. Julia Roberts. I didn't mean Dirty Dancing.
Kevin Bacon?
No.
You were thinking of Footloose?
That's Footloose.
Yeah.
I don't get them consumed.
No? What were you thinking of?
Why did I think Dirty... Oh, God. I meant Overboard. There we go.
Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell.
Overboard? Thanks. Overboard is the movie that you pick for Kurt Russell.
Hateful Eight.
Oh, my God. Not like the thing.
The Thing.
Yeah. There you go. Escape from New York.
I mean, it's worse that I got him confused with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess they were both 80s action stars.
Look, all these 80s white people are the same to me.
That's fair.
I can't get them right.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to watch this movie and see what the hype is about. Or
I'm not.
See if everyone is just insane and that they shouldn't have loved this movie as much as they did.
I'm going to think it is the latter of that because I know people are crazy for liking this movie too much.
Fair enough.
I feel like it's like people who like Fight Club as their favorite movie, but for the wrong reasons. It's those people who like Top Gun. Tom Cruise Gun.
Tom Gun.
Tom Gun.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, Fight Club. I mean, we could talk about Fight Club forever, but that's a movie that at least has depth to it, you know, that people don't understand. Like, a lot of people take the wrong message away from it.
Oh, I'm not saying it's the same situation. I'm saying it's the same people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people who can't understand that Tyler Durden is the villain of Fight Club. Are the people who... Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the people who would, like, worship Brad Pitt in that movie.
Yeah, who are really unsure of why they like that volleyball scene too much. Like,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So, this is going to be great.
It's going to be fantastic. All right. Well, let's go watch this movie.
All right. Here we go.
Culture Gap.
It's official. We've seen Top Gun.
We watched it just now.
We watched it, and everyone at home is wondering which one of us is Maverick and which one of us is Goose. That's what everybody's been waiting for. Isn't that what everyone does with this movie? They pick who's Maverick and who's Goose?
I mean, does Goose even have enough of a personality for you to assign that to?
Well, let me just say, I hope to God that I'm Goose. Because I don't know why anyone wants to be Maverick.
Oh my God, Maverick is the fucking worst. I literally have a note that's just, I hate Maverick so much.
Yeah, I have that too. Actually, I have this whole section called masculinity ? I don't know why I titled it that, but it's about why I hate him and every other character in this movie. Yep. Is every character a frat bro?
Yeah, apparently. I think that's... Wow. I guess just the sort of military aspect.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the idea is like that's just what happens in locker rooms.
Yeah, it's super weird.
And there are a lot of locker rooms.
There are a lot of locker rooms. I will say I thought it was really weird that Val Kilmer was the antagonist in his like career there, because he was like the good guy. He's like, hey, let's be safe, everyone. Let's not get people killed.
Right.
Don't.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little douchey too, but at least he was just like, Maverick, you're dangerous.
Right.
It's like, yeah, he is. Yeah. Why is anyone letting him keep flying?
It's insane.
Like, doing that flyby, they should have been like, no, you're not allowed to fly planes anymore.
No.
Why would they let him get away with this shit? I don't understand.
It was just like, do Americans really like renegade cowboys that much that like they love Maverick and like Iceman boo because he's... Do people not like Iceman? I actually don't know what people I wish we had someone who's seen this movie and loved it, because we definitely didn't.
Yeah, no, I hated this movie so much. I had to watch it in 2 sittings because it was excruciating.
I almost stopped. I was like, is just the top enough? Like, I don't just the top in this movie,
not the gun,
not the gun. Oh God! Like, I did not want to watch this movie at all as I was watching it. It was so bad. People love this movie though.
Right. Which is baffling to me. I don't understand how that's possible.
I mean, I can see certain people loving this movie.
Okay, here's one bit of context that I think might explain part of it. This movie is rated PG.
Really?
Bafflingly. Even though there's like a sex scene, people talk about their dicks constantly. Yeah. They say shit multiple times. This was like, I think, right before the PG-13 rating came out. So this was still PG. So my theory is a lot of people watched this when they were still children.
Yeah.
And that's why they liked it, because it's like, oh yeah, look, Maverick's just this bad boy and who cares what he's doing, because this isn't real. This is like a kid's movie with no stakes.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain things that this movie's about that it's just not for us. Like, I can say that with confidence. Like,
yeah,
fighter pilots and military stuff. And, I mean, you like cool jackets, but I don't know.
I don't know if I would call these jackets.
Yeah,
cool.
motorcycle, like kissing on motorcycles and aviators. Right. This is the kind of war movie I don't like. I wouldn't call this a war movie.
I wouldn't either. Halfway through this movie, I just wrote a note that was like, is this movie a romance? Like, more than anything else, I'm pretty sure this movie's a romance. It barely has a plot. Let's just establish that. There's no real plot to this movie.
That's what bothered me the most.
It's just Maverick being an asshole a bunch of times, then his friend dies, and then he's an asshole again, but it works.
And then there's finally a conflict.
That's
it. And like, you don't know anything about the conflict, which is like what I want to know. Like, yeah, let's find out about this political stuff. I want to know what's going on and what this thing is. Right. But instead we just get like, the payoff of this movie is this vague ass like dogfight scene that I cannot follow at all. I thought there were 6 like different ships coming in, and then there were only 4. Do you call planes ships?
Yeah, they're called
ships. Sky ships, airships.
Yeah, I mean, so I think most of the time this movie does a pretty good job of handling the aerial stuff, but for sure, by the end, there were times when I was like, who am I even looking at? Like, I don't understand who's in what plane, who's doing what.
No.
But, I think part of the trouble with that is, like, you're in 3D space, right? They have literally every direction possible that those planes could move in.
They're just not interesting scenes, right? Like, maybe it's just not for me. I don't care about fighter. Like, these were they were flying these planes, and everyone always talks about like, oh, they actually flew those planes. I'm like, I don't know if I care about fighter jets.
Well, I would say that's the part of the movie that I think is most successful, is just that you can tell they really shot these planes doing these things.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the most successful part of the movie, is just watching these planes fly around and do stunts and stuff, and you're like, okay, sure, that's sunset, golden hour lighting. Sure, why not? But everything else in this movie is just absolute trash. Like, the writing, the dialogue is horrible, the performances.
No, there's one redeeming quality, and it's the score. The music in the movie is good.
I disagree.
Maybe not, because it's not matching a good movie, but I liked the music in it.
I hard disagree. As soon as Danger Zone came on, I was like, this movie is already a parody of itself.
I was really happy that when he was like with what's her face, Charlie, on their date, CCR comes on. And it's like sitting by the dock of the bay, and he's talking about how
that's not CCR. That's Otis Redding.
Is it?
Yeah, CCR probably did a cover.
Yeah, CCR does a cover of everything. Although I never know if things are covers or they did the original version.
Right.
With CCR, you can never tell.
I didn't know you were so Creedence Clearwater Revival.
It's one of those things, and this is what's funny about it. He talks about his mom playing it over and over again and listening to it. My parents play that song over and over again.
But literally, the Creedence Clearwater Revival version.
Probably. Well, that's like growing up, my parents listened to CCR a lot, so I actually really like CCR because of that. Wow. But I also have a good relationship with my parents. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever listened to them, to be honest with you.
Wow. Anyway, this isn't about CCR. This is about Top Gun. Unfortunately.
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the music is not great, and
no.
Also, it plays endlessly. Danger Zone plays 3 times in this movie, and Take My Breath Away plays 4 times in the span of about 20 minutes as well.
But that's what I want out of a movie score.
Actually, that song did win an Oscar for Best Original Song that year.
Really?
Take My Breath Away, yeah. Which is probably the best song in the movie, but yeah, I thought the score itself was pretty cheesy, and then the original songs are unbelievably cheesy.
Wow.
Just pure 80s sugar pop.
Which
is really what this movie is, though.
It is.
This movie is pure entertainment. Like, I don't even think I could call this art, to be honest.
No. It's interesting you said it's PG. I didn't even see that. But there's this point in the movie where Tom Cruise just like covertly scores a dinner date with Kelly McGillis, and then Slider's like, he doesn't know, so he's like, plane crash, saying like, oh, you just messed up, bro. And then Tom Cruise leans in for the worst insult ever of the movie and is like, Slider, you stink, all dramatically. I'm like, that is the worst way to end that encounter. But knowing this is PG now, that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. But this is also the movie where guys talk about how hard they get when they think about airplanes.
Yeah, but that was normal then.
PG movies just talk about getting boners.
Yeah, that's normal.
It's normal.
So, this movie is Starship Troopers, right? But worse.
What?
It's the same movie.
In what way
but
is this
worse.
Starship Troopers?
You got this arrogant kid who's like the best in his class, who you go through this whole beginning part of the movie where you're waiting for the conflict to happen. I don't know. I just got
but
real...
there's a much clearer conflict in Starship Troopers.
Is
like
there?
There's like a whole war with aliens and shit. This is just Tom Cruise training. But also, I guess, okay, I take your point. I think Starship Troopers is much more commenting on this type of movie, though.
Yeah.
This movie is literal propaganda. Starship Troopers is making fun of propaganda.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because I think I read that China actually used footage of this movie and pretended it was Chinese planes as propaganda. So it was pretty, I was like, what?
Well, I mean, I guess we could get into some of the trivia now. The background of this movie, the Navy did have an insane amount of input into this because they wanted to use it as a recruiting tool. So they like changed things about the script, like the way Goose died. Goose was supposed to die in an accident landing on an aircraft carrier. But the Navy was like, no, that's like a really dangerous part of this job that we don't want to highlight. So it needs to be something else.
Wow.
Things like that, where they just kept interfering in the production to make it look really cool. And then Navy recruiters posted up outside movie theaters when this came out to try to recruit the people coming out of the movie who are all like jacked up on the ideas of of like flying a plane and stuff.
Wow.
And they had a 500% increase in applications to the Navy because of it.
Damn.
Yo. So it worked. I mean, this is literal propaganda.
So, I mean,
another
Yeah, maybe Starship Troopers is playing off of that because they do a whole thing about like the whole thing's propaganda. Like,
Yeah.
it's cut in all those propaganda clips, and let me just say they both have Michael Ironside playing the same character, like General. He's
true.
like born to play that role.
I know Michael Ironside is kind of always in that role.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Another crazy thing about the sort of propaganda side of this thing is that so this movie actually, interestingly, so it was the top grossing movie of 1986. Yeah. And then it really led the way for the home video market, where before this, videotapes were priced to be sold to video stores and then rented out from there. So they were like $100 per videotape. And this was the first movie that was designed for like the home audience to be able to just buy the tape.
Wow.
So it became hugely popular because of that as well. So that might be part of why people love this movie so much, is because it's one of the early like home releases. But the producers of the movie offered to put a recruitment ad for the Navy onto the VHS tape because they were like, hey, this movie's like propaganda for you guys. Do you want to like have an ad so that people can follow up? And the Navy actually said no because they thought it would be redundant. They were like, no, this movie is already so effective at being a recruitment tool. We don't need to add an ad.
Wow. Well, I'm thinking, while you're saying this, I'm thinking about it, and I realize the people I know that love this movie in my life are my in-laws. And they love this movie. They quote it all the time. My brother-in-law loves this movie.
What?
Even my wife likes this movie. And it's because, yeah, her parents, my mother and father-in-law, were in the Navy. In the Navy, their whole like beginning part of their like adult life.
Right.
Yeah. It took me like halfway through this movie before I realized it was the Navy. I thought it was the Air Force.
Too. I thought it was like, the Air Force,
right?
As well. Yeah.
Little do I know. Sure. Amelia's like, they're on an aircraft carrier, and I'm like, that says aircraft. And
so yeah, what? The Air Force doesn't have aircraft carriers?
Yeah, I'm like, what? I guess
I don't know.
They're out at sea.
I don't know shit about the military because I found myself asking questions like, what the fuck does a Rio do?
Yeah,
like what was Goose doing on that plane? Like,
I know.
What was his role?
Did you look it up? Because I didn't get around to it, and I want to know.
I did look it up. It took a while to find it, but it was just like they're in charge of like weapons and navigation.
Oh, I thought they were just hype men.
Yeah, I mean that's how it comes across. Because
light them up.
Yeah, at least in this movie, we only see the pilots do everything. They're doing all the navigation. They're, spotting the other planes. They're releasing the weapons. Like, I thought maybe it was like, oh, they're like a fail-safe in case the pilot can't continue piloting the plane. There's a like co-pilot who can take over. But we saw at the beginning of the movie that's not the case, because when that pilot freaks out, his co-pilot's just like, hey, man, can we go?
So they're essentially just the droids in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's what Jeremy said. He was like, it's just R2-D2 in the back going, woo, woo.
R2-D2's way better than Goose.
Yeah, Goose was so boring. And his death, too, I thought was so anticlimactic.
Right?
Like, people hyped that up, and it was just like, oh, it's just a freak accident.
I didn't know he died, but I guessed it when they were, like, bringing in his family, and they were like, oh, here's his kid and his wife, and he's such a good guy, and he's your best friend. I'm like, he's gonna die. They're setting this up.
Right. Well, it really kind of bothered me because I wished that he had died as a result of Maverick's recklessness.
I know. And I don't know if he did, because I don't understand that, but they went through the whole trial and said he did.
There's like a whole debate about it. People are just like, no, it was Iceman. He fucked him up. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Because the point is, like, it could have been that, like, we just see Maverick be a dick, be like a reckless asshole the whole movie, and there are never any consequences for it, and he never learns a lesson.
Look, we did Rain Man as the first episode in this podcast,
right?
And there's something very similar about this, and I think Tom Cruise movies in the 80s. is that Tom Cruise has these movies where he's going through his transformation and never transforms far enough. That's how I feel about this.
Well, that was the other crazy thing to me was this movie came out 2 years before Rain Man. And he seems so much younger in this movie.
I know.
This performance is so much worse.
Yeah.
Like, Rain Man is like borderline transcendent. Like he really inhabits that character and you believe he's this awful guy. And this movie, he just comes across as like a smug little guy.
I don't like it. I really feel like I avoided Tom Cruise movies for this reason. Like just because I didn't like these type of characters.
This is the exact type of performance by him I don't like.
So I have this big section in my notes that I want to get into. I called it Sexy Time.
Sure. Yeah, this is a very sexual movie.
Yeah.
Everyone in this movie is sweating constantly.
Oh, yeah. Taking showers. So what I'm really curious about is volleyball supposed to be a manly sport? Like, why volleyball?
That's a good question. It's just an excuse to get their shirts off, I guess.
They could have been doing anything. But volleyball?
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the volleyball scene it serves absolutely no plot function. It doesn't need to be in the movie at all.
Well, funny thing is it wasn't in the movie. And they tested it with audiences, and they wanted more scenes like this, like more romantic scenes, more sexy scenes. And this is just to literally appeal to the women in the audience. They added it in afterwards.
I read that about the sex scene as well. They wanted
the sex scene as well, which wow. That it was clearly made for women. I mean, you said it was PG. I wrote that it was made for women, but the fact that you said it's PG, it makes more sense now. I'm like, silhouette light, and
I don't think any part of this movie was made for women, to be honest with you. I think this movie is all about like worshiping male bodies and male supremacy and how women are inferior to men.
However, I think that was their intention.
Oh God. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it might be a little bit of like the homosocial thing too, though, of like, you know, like with James Bond, how they always show skin and this idea of like men want to be him, like seeing these like, you know, Adonises with their like shimmering muscular bodies is like aspirational for men, even if it's not, you know, even if it's not explicitly like homosexual.
Oh yeah. I mean, it got me. That's for sure.
Yeah, you were rock hard, and I said, "Don't tease me."
Yeah,
you know. So I kind of expected this movie to be less gay than everyone hyped it up to be, because people always talk about how gay this movie is, and I was like, "It's probably less gay than that. It's probably just that volleyball scene, and that's it." And I was very wrong. This movie is extremely gay from start to finish in every aspect.
Wow.
It's all about male relationships. The men are constantly like naked with one another. And even when Tom Cruise is like trying to woo a woman, it's with like the backing of all the men in the bar singing along with him. Like
that was nuts.
Like the whole movie is so much about the homosexual and the homosocial and just masculinity in general. It's really astonishing to me.
I was both mind blown and not surprised at the same exact time when he walked into that ladies' room.
I was shouting at my television. Like, can you imagine any movie in 2022 having the main character corner a woman alone in the bathroom in the opening 20 minutes?
Yeah.
After she already rejected him, he's not taking no for an answer. And then he's walking into the ladies' room where she is alone. Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And she's like kind of into it.
Well, they
like,
are in 80s movies. That's a thing. In 80s movies, like in Rain Man or this, like, that's what it is. And I feel like there's this big cultural gap between 80s movies.
Hey, that's the name of the podcast.
And movies today. Yeah. I just feel like a lot of things in the 80s wouldn't fly today. which is funny to see.
That's very true. Yeah.
So seeing these movies for the first time, we're like, what? But I'm sure like movies that we've seen from the 80s that we liked are probably also kind of weird. I don't know. I'd be interested
it's possible
to rewatch some and find out. I mean, I rewatched Speed.
I mean, well, that was a 90s movie.
Oh, true. That's different. Yeah. Way different. Oh. It was interesting because I did a little bit of trivia search myself this time around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to let you get all the trivia credit. So
yeah, I can't not read trivia about a movie.
That's interesting. I never do.
It's like one of my favorite parts of watching a movie is just pulling up IMDb afterward and reading the trivia.
I'm so blinded by my own opinions that I never look at it. I don't really care. I'm just like passionately hating something or loving something. I actually read that Tony Scott was fired 3 times on this movie.
Really?
And one time was because the studio thought he made Kelly McMillan, is that her name? McGillis. Look whorish, as they said.
Wow.
Fired for that.
Wow. That's crazy.
Right?
I did read, I guess that character was originally going to be like an aerobics instructor or something. Then they met this woman who actually worked at the Navy, whose nickname was Legs, who just always wore high heels everywhere. And,
Legs.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
I was just like, this poor woman. She was like
for
a
the time period. Yeah, for the time period
at the Navy.
And the Navy.
But then they met her and they were like, okay, let's just make the character her. So that's literally what they did.
Just make it her.
It's just her. It's just like, okay, well, what if she's just like a very attractive woman who like doesn't hide her femininity?
Man, it would have been interesting if he was fired, like for good, Tony Scott.
Yeah.
Because one of the directors that maybe could have made this movie was John Carpenter.
I heard that, and he passed on it.
Of course he did. Yeah. But it would have been interesting to see John Carpenter's The Top Gun. Like
that would have been a very different movie.
The score would be wildly different.
Oh yeah, it would be so moody.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell and the lead role.
Kurt Russell would be Maverick.
Would be Maverick. Yeah. You'd have an eye patch for no reason.
Yep. I was reading the actors who could have played Maverick. It's I have a list here actually. People were up for it, or like they looked into these people. Sean Penn, Patrick Swayze, Emilio Estevez, Nicolas Cage, John Cusack, Matthew Broderick, Tom Hanks, Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, all the 80s stars.
Yeah, who would you rather it be?
Would I rather?
Yeah, out of that list.
In this role?
Out of that list.
What was the list again?
Sean Penn, Patrick Swayze, Emilio Estevez, Nicolas Cage, John Cusack, Matthew Broderick, Michael J. Fox, Tom Hanks.
Nicolas Cage.
Oh, you want this to be wild.
He would be the only actor who I think would do anything interesting in the role. To be honest.
Wow.
Like I just think Maverick is such a horribly written role that like there's nothing you could do with it unless you went crazy.
That's fair. That would be an interesting movie. Although I'm also really interested in seeing Tom Hanks' super wholesome take on Maverick.
I just feel like that would be
so
fest.
bad.
Yeah.
It's Tom Hanks as Maverick. It's directed by Spielberg. It's gonna be
right. It's just a heartwarming.
It's a heartwarming
family
tale
movie. You know why Tony Scott got the gig in the first place?
Why? His brother?
He directed. Yeah, his brother. Probably no. It was because he directed a commercial of a car racing a jet.
What?
Yeah,
that's all you got to do.
It was like it was a commercial that was big in the 80s. This movie is very much shot like an advertisement. It's shot like a commercial.
It is.
And people actually point to this as sort of like a turning point in cinema where it moved from, art to just like pure unadulterated entertainment that like has no substance at all and is like designed for short attention spans and like just to be like
shots fired.
Like, I mean, I'm not the only one who said this. People have been saying this for years about this movie.
I'm pretty sure we said it in the opening too before we watched it.
Tony Scott, I think his intention with this movie was to make it feel, like a fast-paced kind of advertisement for the, low attention span new generation.
Oh, man.
One other thing that I thought was fascinating when I was watching this movie was thinking of all the crates that Tom Cruise had to be standing on in so many of these scenes, because he's very short. Tom Cruise is 5'7", and there are so many shots of this movie where he has to look like he is the same height as someone who is much taller than him, including Kelly McGillis. She's 5'10".
5'10". I read that. I was like, oh man, that must have been fun for him.
The funniest thing to me, so most of the movie, Tom Cruise is wearing lifts and Kelly McGillis is barefoot so that they're about the same height. But the funniest one to me is in their last scene together when they're in the restaurant and Tom Cruise is at the jukebox and she walks up behind him and walks over to him. The crew dug a trench in the floor that she is walking through to get to him. Man. So that they'll be the same height. I thought that was so funny. They dug a trench for her to be the same height as Tom Cruise.
Look, it's insane what people go through to make dudes not short. Like,
why can't he just be a short guy?
That's
like, it kind of makes sense for the character.
People don't want
doesn't
that.
It? Like, wouldn't she, like, this cocky little arrogant shit Maverick who you want to punch in the face? Doesn't it kind of make sense? He's like got a little bit of like a chip on his shoulder about his height. He's got something to prove. That's why he's always, doing all these risky things.
Man, I don't know. You already said, like, this is all about, like, dudes wanting to be that thing. And short is not one of those things.
You're right. This movie is just a hyper-masculine fantasy. In some of my notes here, after watching the movie, I was just like, I said it's masculinity propaganda. It's a dick-swinging, dick-worshipping, male gaze on the male body, homosocial extravaganza.
Wow.
Like, this movie is crazy. Like, I am shocked that this movie wasn't made by, like, gay men, because it is that much about how amazing gay bodies are. Part of me wishes that they would remake this as, like, a queer film. Just like an explicitly queer movie, and just like really, really lean into all the gay elements. I would love that.
I mean, if there were bears too.
Oh yeah, if they're bears, I mean, all the better. Give me all those locker room scenes, those hairy dudes.
I mean, there is a sequel coming out soon, if not already. I don't even know. Are you gonna watch it?
I heard about that. I am absolutely not going to watch it.
I'm gonna see it. I want to compare them.
I don't know, man. I just couldn't get over how bad this movie was. Like, it just felt like a series of unconnected events happening one after another. And it never comes together into a cohesive movie.
Or anything entertaining.
Right.
Did you rate it?
I did.
What'd you give it?
2 out of 10.
Me too!
Yeah, the only reason it gets a 2 is because I thought some of the dogfights were admirable. Like that they really got up there in the plains and did. That
they tried.
Stunts.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, yeah, that's like really. Also, I mean, a guy did die.
I know
shooting those scenes, and I was like, that was not worth it. Nobody had to die for this.
Wasn't worth it at all. No one had to.
Holy shit! Yeah, but
I hate to be that guy.
I think, there's definitely there are some beautiful shots in this movie for sure, with the golden hour lighting and these planes, actually flying. But at the end of the day, it's in the service of a movie that has no plot and whose purpose is explicitly to recruit people into the military. It just doesn't feel good on any level. I I don't think it should be controversial at all to say that this is not a good movie.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I feel like everyone is going to hate on us for that. I don't know why.
I don't know. The thing, so when I Googled this movie, it seems like a lot of people agree with us. I think there's just a certain nostalgia for it, but I think most people at this point in time acknowledge it's not a good movie.
Okay, good.
They're just like, oh, yeah, I liked that when I was younger, but it wasn't great.
Oh,
even when it came out, it got mixed reviews. A lot of people, even when it came out, people were saying, this is a shallow movie that's clearly just like
so shallow.
Military propaganda.
Yeah, it's no Starship Troopers.
No, it's not. I love Starship Troopers.
Me too. I've seen it in theaters so many times.
In theaters, really?
Yeah, well, I worked at the theater and we did several showings of Starship Troopers.
Wow.
Yeah. It's one of those like rewind movies that everyone wants to see at midnight. It's great.
Yeah, it's sort of a cult classic at this point.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's looked at as like a joke, and everything I hear about Top Gun is that it's not. Like, genuinely, people like it.
Yeah. No, I think people genuinely like Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I think it got
a
there.
Satire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it came out, people thought it was horrible. They thought it was trash. They didn't understand what Verhoeven
They didn't
was
get it.
For. Yeah. Yeah, man. They didn't get it at all, man.
Man, I was dreading watching this movie. I just didn't want to do it. Like,
same.
And I don't know if we're better now in life. No, having seen this.
No. There was one review I found from 2006 from Adam Smith at Empire. And I wanted to share just a couple of things he said because I thought he really hit the nail on the head.
I'm here for it.
So he said, Top Gun is not so much a movie in the conventional sense as an escalating series of masterfully crafted adverts. Motorcycles, aircraft carriers, pectorals, and planes all look as if they've been shot for a particularly luminous beer campaign. And then the last thing I want to leave with is also from that review, but is a quote about the production of the movie. And I think it really goes back to what we were saying about the homoeroticism. When an on-set military advisor pointed out that the majority of professional discourse in Navy flight schools did not happen in locker rooms, nor with the flyers clad only in their underwear, Simpson was unimpressed. The producer, Simpson, was unimpressed. I have just paid $1 million for that kid, meaning Tom Cruise, he announced, and I need to see some flesh.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah. They paid a lot of money to hire Tom Cruise. Like,
Producers?
He didn't want to do it, and they paid him a lot of money, and they were like, all right, we got him. He's got to show some skin.
This costs a lot of money, but it made a lot of money. So
yeah,
it did its job. The producers, he knew what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta stop making me watch these Tom Cruise movies, man.
I didn't make you watch this one. We chose it together.
Yeah, I mean, tomatoes. Yeah, so...
Yeah, the next one absolutely has to be better than this. I do not want to watch a movie like this again for the next one. This sucked.
We know what the next one is, and it's going to be a good one. So, if y'all like arrogant assholes like Tom Cruise or Han Solo... check out the next episode when I watch Raiders of the Lost Ark for the first time.
What? You've never seen Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Never! For the same reason.
Yeah, it's basically the same movie as Top Gun.
Yeah. I believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that, and I feel like I'm going to come out of it thinking the same thing.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I don't think so.
It's a lot of people's favorite movie.
You think?
Yeah.
Favorite?
I've heard it.
Huh. Well, we'll get into it in the next episode.
All right. I'll see you there.
Yeah, we'll see you all there.
Yeah, and hey, Greg.
Hey, Mike.
You can be my wingman anytime.
Bullshit. You can be mine.
Culture Gap.